of this chapter. I have the book with me. You all are not having it, so that won't be a problem. I want you all to take a pen and a copy and take down the notes when and where required. Please take down the notes. For your convenience, I'll be repeating the question as well as the answers twice. Please keep a note. Let us start with the first question. The first question is, Robert Hooke discovered cells but not protoplasm. Do you agree with this statement? Give a reason. I repeat, Robert Hooke discovered cells but not protoplasm. Do you agree with this statement? Give a reason. So students, now we know the difference between a cell and a protoplasm. What is a cell? Cell is the basic, structural and functional unit of life. We also know that the weak and the old cells are continuously replaced by the new cells. So what does this mean? The cell can be both living as well as dead. But protoplasm is the living matter of the cell. So, Robert Hooke first invented cell from a thin slice of bottle cork. Bottle cork, that means it is not a living cell. So he only invented cell. But it was Leeuwenhoek who had discovered the protoplasm. Protoplasm is the living matter of the cell. I repeat, Robert Hooke first invented cell from a thin slice of bottle cork. But it was Leeuwenhoek who had first discovered the protoplasm. Now we come to the second question. What is the cell theory? Who propounded it and when? I repeat, what is the cell theory? Who propounded it and when? We know about it right now, that there are three major points in the cell theory. The first point says that the cell is the structural unit of life. Second one, cell is the fundamental unit of life. And third, cells exist from pre-existing cells. I repeat, cell is the structural unit of life. Cell is the fundamental unit of life, and cell exists from pre-existing cells. We come to the second part of the question. Who propounded it and when? The cell theory was propounded in the year 1839 by Schwann and Schleiden. I repeat, cell theory was propounded in the year 1839 by Schwann and Schleiden. Let us come to the next question. It is said that the protoplasm cannot be analyzed chemically. Why? I repeat, it is said that protoplasm cannot be analyzed chemically. Why? See, the chemical composition of protoplasm is very complex. It differs from one cell to another. Protoplasm is the living part of the cell, but it ceases to be protoplasm when it is removed from the organism. This is the reason why protoplasm cannot be chemically analyzed. I repeat, the composition of protoplasm is very complex and it differs from one cell to another. Protoplasm is the living matter of the cell, but it ceases to be protoplasm when it is removed from the organism. This is the reason why protoplasm cannot be chemically analyzed. Now let's look into the next question. Mention any three differences between a living cell and brick in a wall. I repeat, mention any three differences between a living cell and a brick in a wall. See, we all know this is a very easy question. Cell is living, whereas brick is non-living. Cell contains cell organelles, whereas brick does not contain cell organelle. In case of cell, a lot of exchange activity occurs, like oxygen or carbon dioxide is transported from one cell to another, but we observe no such activity in case of brick. Next, every cell has a specific lifespan. For example, the lifespan of our RBC or erythrocyte is 120 days, but we see nothing like this when it comes to the brick. I repeat, the difference between the cell and the brick. Cell is living, whereas brick is non-living. Cell has cell organelle, brick has no cell organelle. In cell, we see certain exchange activities between two or more cells. In case of brick, we observe nothing like this. Cells have their own lifespan, whereas brick, there is no certain lifespan for a brick cell. Now let us come to the next question. Okay, so this is a structured question. Let's see. Which parts of a cell are concerned with the following? So this is a question from the cell organelles part. Okay, number 1, liberation of energy. 2, synthesis of protein. 3, transmission of hereditary characters from parents to offspring. I repeat the question. Which parts of a cell are concerned with the following? First, liberation of energy. Second, synthesis of protein. Third, transmission of hereditary characters from parents to offspring. For liberation of energy, we know the cell organelle concerned is the mitochondria. Next is the synthesis of protein. The site of synthesis of protein is the cytoplasm, and the cell organelle who is chiefly responsible for this particular function is the ribosome. And transmission of hereditary characters from parents to offspring, this function is performed by the nucleus. So liberation of energy, mitochondria; synthesis of protein, ribosome; transmission of hereditary characters from parents to offspring is the nucleus. Now let us see the next question. Recollect certain colors in plants. Name the plant and its part where the particular color is found. What do you call the cell organelles which contain pigments? I repeat, recollect certain colors in plants. Name the plant and its part where the particular color is found. What do you call the organelles that contains pigment? See, plants appear to be green. Why? Because it contains a pigment called chlorophyll. This chlorophyll absorbs the red and the blue light and reflects the green light. This chlorophyll is present in the thylakoid of the plants. But not all leaves we see are green in color. There are certain plants whose leaves are red in color or are of some other colors. Why is there a difference? This is because of the difference in the pigment they contain. Like green plants contain chlorophyll in them, plants containing having red leaves or some other colored leaves have pigments like carotenoids or anthocyanins in them. We will learn about these pigments in the next chapter. Now we come to the next question. List any 5 features found in plant and animal cells. I repeat, list any 5 features found both in plant and animal cell. This is a very easy question. You know the answer to this. See, both plant and animal cells have a selectively permeable membrane. We have seen it that both the plant cell and the animal cell is having plasma membrane which is selectively permeable. Then both the plant and the animal cell have ribosome, they have mitochondria, they have endoplasmic reticulum, they have Golgi apparatus. So you can add on a lot of points for this. You can add more than 5 points for this particular question. Now we come to the, so there is no point of repeating it. I straight away come to the next question. The next question says, do you think the cells of an elephant would be larger than the cells of a rat? Explain briefly. I repeat, do you think the cells of an elephant would be larger than the cells of a rat? Explain briefly. See, this is a very tricky question and many of us may go wrong, but pay attention to this. See, the cells of rat and elephants are similar because they are animals. Animal cell have the common cell, like the generalized cell that we have studied. There is no difference between the cell in case of elephant and that of a rat. Just because an animal is bigger in size doesn't mean the cell size is bigger. It means the number of cell is more in comparison to that of rat in case of elephant. I repeat, the cells of rat and elephant are similar. Just because an animal is bigger in size does not mean the cell size is bigger. It only means the number of cells is more in case of the bigger animal